I tried to get in touch with the NATO people before the deadline, just about some of the other questions that had arisen, and there are two aspects. One is they didn't reply to anything at all, so I've had no recent communication. If it is only that signature which was sent late and not the proposal itself, they should have been able to put it into their system. They have in the past been okay. I can't promise that, but they have in the past been quite free to negotiate. So I hope that they've accepted it. And if they don't have a lot of proposals, then they might bend the rules a bit. If we're one of 50 proposals, it does give them a reason to kick us out. So that's all. It's
Got it.
I mean, these things reflect a terrible deadline.
Yep, we got it. We got it.
Yeah, yeah, I think so. You did everything you can, and yeah, I mean, good for everybody that did do that, even the people that got their signature late. It was a reflection of the Christmas period, so nobody gets criticized for this, I think.
Well, y'all can criticize me for starting it in November instead of starting it in July. That's fine.
Well, it was, yeah, but that point about the signature came very late, so it wasn't for want of trying. So it is what it is. I'm going to apologize
It,
in advance, by the way. I do have to leave fairly early, not least because I've got no heating here and we've got a plumber expected around the top of the hour. So I've got to deal with that.
shall we get on to our research presentation, which I'm looking forward to?
I'm sorry.
Can I be naughty and just say, can I just add one comment on that?
Sure.
In addition to the NATO application, from my part, I did promise to look at options for balancing of commercial funding. So obviously that doesn't relate to the NATO application, but I have started to map out around 50 targets, companies and so on that have an Alaskan interest on the oil and gas industry, and also trying to identify whether they've got a European and UK element, and many of them have, of course. A lot of them are international companies. So it doesn't relate to a meeting particularly, but if you like, this is me kicking off saying, when I've got time, what I'll do is I'll draft out call it a position statement or a teaser or something like that, that will be sent to these people, these companies, where we'll say, we're doing this, we're developing that, and would you like to come on board as industrial partners and sponsors? And that the benefits to you will be, whether it be greening your company, seriously good green credentials, etc. And therefore, please give us some of your marketing budget or R&D budget. The other thing is I was going to say was that then gives us the ability to run parallel with to the NATO application, either now or in the future, I hope with some commercial funding. But the other thing is that there is this issue of tax credits in the US. So companies that are investing in green technologies get tax credits, which they might then be able to give a proportion to us as sponsorship. Does anybody in the group have experience in that, in the sense that I do have one guy who's an investor based in California that I've worked with before. He may have comment as a money man on this, but if anybody in the group here sees a route to that, then they should just keep in touch directly with me to see if we can kind of put that into words within the teaser. If not, that's fine. I'll work on it.
It depends a little on the type of credit. I think there are some state credits, and then there are some federal ones, some of which are set by EPA. So if there are EPA ones, I can certainly find people who can answer questions about that. Or,
Okay,
you know,
that's good
provide
to know.
guidance.
All right, and if there's a web page that we can direct people to or something like that, just a bit of background for me on that, that would be fantastic. And I will ask my contact as a financial investor himself to see if he's not going to give me money, but he may give me at least the right direction as to how to put it into words that will really trigger interest from some of these bigger companies.
Yeah, there's a team, not Max's team, but a different team in our Office of Research and Development that has a whole sort of work group on anaerobic digestion and how that relates to various renewable fuel credit things. So, I mean, that's more in the context of, you know, large scale municipal anaerobic digestion, but that doesn't mean that the, you know, the issues aren't the same.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
And in the UK here, particularly, we have what would be called R&D tax credits. So if a company is investing in R&D, then that offsets their tax bill. So they effectively give money into their own R&D program or into R&D development at a university for free.
Cool.
And of course, the beneficiary is the R&D program, whatever that is. So there are angles of that type, and you know, it might relate. So I don't want to take up more time, but if anybody can give me the right links or information, then please do so. I would really appreciate that. Okay. Right, that's me. Thank you.
Okay, so I see that we're losing Embry and that we are gaining Piper as our facilitator. Piper, do you have the agenda? Because up next we have a new person and a research presentation that I'm pretty excited about.
Okay, great. Why don't you introduce her? Because I have the agenda, but not all the bio.
Sure.
And for some reason it says that I'm on video, but I'm not seeing my video. So I'll work on that while we're presenting.
Okay. Dr. Uteyeva, I know I'm not saying that correctly, but I'm looking forward to hearing how I should be saying that.
Hi, everyone. My name is Jaime Marti. Unfortunately, I'm still a PhD candidate at Imperial College London. And I would like to share my slides right now. Oh,
Meredith, does she have permission to do that?
Should.
Okay.
Should be a green share button at the bottom. Sometimes if your Zoom window is too small, you need to expand it to be able to see it or click more.
there you go. How does it work for you? And can you see my screen now?
Yes, we can see your screen. Thank you.
Okay,
Yes.
good. All right, so I can make it this way. So I my research project focuses on septic tank performance, and in particular microbial dynamics in cold climates. I hypothesize that temperature variations in cold climates significantly influence the microbial dynamics and pollutant removal efficiency in septic tanks. And so the understanding of these dynamics would enable the design and optimization of septic tank systems that enhance anaerobic digestion and improve sanitation outcomes in extreme environmental conditions. I focus on Kazakhstan in my study because actually I come from the Republic of Kazakhstan myself, and here I identify that in my research study that there are no projects to date that have analyzed how bacteriophages, bacteria, and pathogens interact in septic tanks under varying cold climate conditions and temperatures. So my research investigates this microbial dynamics over an extended period of 1 year, focusing on optimizing pollutant removal efficiency. So the idea is a deeper understanding of the processes is expected to inform septic tank designs tailored to withstand extreme temperature fluctuations, such as those in Kazakhstan, where we experience the temperature fluctuations from minus 40 degrees Celsius to plus 40 within the yearly period. The research objectives of my project are to map the temperature-dependent behavior of microbial communities in septic tanks, to quantify pollutant removal efficiencies under fluctuating cold climate conditions, and to propose targeted design recommendations for septic tanks to enhance functionality in extreme environments. And here on this next slide, I just want to share the key messages from our recently published paper. This is titled Stakeholder Perceptions, Challenges and Sustainable Solutions for Achieving Safely Managed Sanitation in Kazakhstan, a case study from a cold region, which was published in the Journal of Water Sanitation and Hygiene for Development. Kazakhstan is a study setting, so briefly, it's the 9th largest country by land with a population of just 20 million people. Again, it's extremely cold. We have extremely cold winters in the north, and extremely hot summers in the south of the country. In the survey we conducted, we have 2 cities, the capital, which is Astana, which is the 2nd coldest capital in the world, just after Ulaanbaatar in Mongolia, and a small town, which is located nearby Astana in the same region with a population of just 34,000 people. And what we see that in both cities with different shares, there are users of septic tanks, pit latrines, and people, households that are connected to centralized sewers. Before going into details, just wanted to say, just as we also, in Alaska, Kazakhstan is rich in natural resources, including oil and gas and all metals and coal. So the survey insights of this published paper, that the scope of there were 30 stakeholders that had been interviewed, that completed the survey from public and private sectors, NGOs, and households across 2 cities. And the primary challenges identified in the study were improper septic tank installations, limited access to sanitation during snowfall, infrastructure failures during freezing conditions, frequent septic tank overflows, and sewage backups. Interesting enough, people identified 93% of the respondents cited the foul odors and overflows as a major concern for them, and just 7% said they might have health risks because of the issues that they face during the cold climate with their on-site sanitation facilities. One key issue that we identified was that the septic tanks that the respondents said that they own or they frequently use, most of the septic tanks are not double chambered, and as a result, they are functioning as holding tanks and not true septic tanks. But none of the respondents proposed improved septic tank design as a potential solution to their sanitation problem, and no one is concerned is that they are using just they misinterpret the function of the septic tanks. They do not know how that, for example, in some countries they are not aware that it should, as in like for example in Canada, they know people might empty the septic tank like once in 4 or 6 years. Here people empty it. It could be, if it's rainy season, they empty it like twice a month or once a month, something like that. Many households fail to adhere to fundamental standards for installing on-site sanitation facilities. So they might not know the frost, that they need to about the frost line, and that they are not installing the septic tanks appropriately sized to their families, and they might use the materials that are not capable of withstanding the harsh conditions of cold climates. So, and it's of course a lot, as in many cases, low-income neighborhoods are particularly affected by cold weather events, but not just the low-income neighborhoods. They could be middle-income neighborhoods as well that face this problem. And the significant collaboration gaps have been identified within the sanitation management sector, but the NGOs try to help to resolve this issue, and they have been identified as the key players that in improving sanitation infrastructure and practices in Kazakhstan. Their role includes overseeing the construction maintenance of public toilets in the serviced cities, and provision of guidance on ensuring proper installation, and advising on the appropriate depth for installing these facilities to avoid frost line issues. Overall, NGOs have made significant progress in addressing the sanitation challenges in cold climates, and this was one of the key messages that were identified in this survey as a survey result. And by presenting this, my idea was to find whether if you have in the past you have encountered such issues in Alaska or in other places, like we have here, we identified here in Kazakhstan, or have you ever do you know any projects that work on similar topic of understanding the microbial dynamics in on-site sanitation facilities or septic, for example, in septic tanks? Yeah, thank you very much for your attention.
Does anybody have any questions? Thank you for that great presentation.
I can think of a couple of people who didn't make this call who would probably have thoughts. And Dr. Fowler, microbial communities.
Yeah, so I mean, I don't think, as far as I know, that a lot of work has been done on this. It's nice to see that there are people starting to work on this, but yeah, there's a bit of work that's been done by Tom Curtis's group at Newcastle University on this. I guess there's also that study from the EPA, but that's more on, those are both more on anaerobic digestion than on septic tanks. Yeah, not a lot of studies are available. There's kind of general knowledge about psychrophilic bacteria and what kind of limits their activity, but beyond that, there's not a lot of background research, I think.
Yeah, I'd pile on to that and say that I've usually only seen studies discussing kind of the mechanical functionality of septic tanks, where people are looking into like putting a mound over the drain field and having it above frost line that way, by kind of building the drain field at ground level and then raising the ground higher to insulate, and methods to oversize the drain field to deal with freezing conditions and things like that. But I don't think I've ever seen a paper, not that it's not out there, but I've never seen a paper about the microbiology of a septic tank, and really going towards that angle of how to optimize the technology.
Actually, I was just thinking, I do know one student who was working on septic tanks in Canada. I'm not sure they were particularly cold environments. They were from Western Canada, so we have a pretty temperate environment here. But I will look up if she actually published any of the work she did. I know that they didn't finish it, and it's something I've been talking with her supervisor, who maybe you know, Keitano Doria, about kind of following up on the research and actually measuring methanogenic activity in some septic tanks in Western Canada.
I saw that Judith had her hand up. Judith, did you
Yeah,
want
there's also, I've just sent a link to thanks to Jaime. He's part of our group on Arctic Wash in with UArctic, with Pernille, etc. And he works on, it's mostly digesters, but he has installed them 5,000 meters in altitude in Bolivia, in very cold conditions, and he has really good results, and he keeps working on that. So maybe he would have something to say about the bacterial activity.
Thank you.
And also, I look forward to your results.
Right.
For
we all
Greenland.
Definitely, yeah.
Very much.
Robin dropped in the chat that Tom Curtis would be best to contact. I think it was on this context, unless it was a delayed note. Robin, do you want to say something about that?
No, it's fine. I just think Tom Curtis is the person that will have the best handle on the literature for that, even if he doesn't have any papers of his own. So that's why I just dropped his email there. So that's fine. I don't have anything other than that on this topic.
All right, thank you. The curiosity I had, and Margaret and Embry are ninja on this, with that you mentioned NGOs and NGOs that are participating with these systems, and I don't know if there's any of those contacts that are worth reaching out to be a part of this group in any way. But in terms of increasing conversation and cross-pollination. Sorry, my camera's not on. I just can't figure it out without leaving the meeting. So yeah, I just would put a pin in that, and we can talk about that later, Margaret.
Finding out NGOs who are doing the work in Kazakhstan would be great to know if they have people who want to inform us about what's not working as well as what's working, because that's all often very informative. And I was thinking, Pernille and the Greenland work, but I kind of feel like one of the issues in Greenland is that they can't go below surface at all. And maybe
frost line. There's no below frost line, hundreds of feet.
Some places we can, a lot of it is rock, but we have two projects in mind that are not funded yet, but that hopefully will be within a year or two to test digesters and different kinds of treatment and among other things, and also new interfaces. So I will keep you posted. But
Yeah, definitely. Cool.
Okay,
Cool.
Robin had to jump off. He wants some
Yeah.
heat. Isn't he our cold water bathing guy though? I don't know. Maybe we should let him know.
Good luck with the plumber.
Good luck,
Yes, and I am just leaving, and yes, I'm still going in the water. It was just 1.8 centigrade a couple of days ago, so that's cold enough without any heating to come back to.
Yes. All
Okay,
right.
thanks everybody.
Thank
See you.
you.
See you soon. And I
Bye-bye.
didn't say a happy new year to everybody.
Oh,
That's me
happy New
gone.
Year.
Thank
Bye
you.
now.
Happy New Year to all. Yeah, I was a -20 wind chill yesterday, so I'm resonating with the -40 temperatures that you shared earlier in your presentation. I had the choice of not being outside, but many people do not have the choice of not being outside in those temperatures. All right, anything else?
Yeah, actually, I don't know if it's interesting to you, but I know some people who do septic tanks and other technologies in the mountains, in the Alps, in Switzerland in particular. For instance, you could try the Vuna company. The guy's name is Bastian Etter. He is in touch now, so is Jaime, with a team that's trying to develop a sustainable base camp for Everest, among others, to start with, and they will be also looking at what they can do for wastewater. So maybe they'll have something going on that would be interesting. I don't know. Or they would be happy to
Sure,
hear about your
sure.
results.
That's interesting. Yeah, thank you.
Gavin Collins in Galway, although he hasn't looked so much at septic tanks, he does have this sort of crossover between sanitation and anaerobic digestion and psychrophilic communities, because he's a biologist. So funny enough, I'm at a conference at the moment, and Gavin Collins at Galway is there, and he's been talking about some of the work he's done. So there, I just did a quick Google of him, and he has done some work on psychrophilic stuff. But again, it's not more active than a septic tank, I'm afraid.
Thank you.
Yeah, I put a link in the chat also to a paper. It's a meta-analysis on the degradation mechanisms and microbiology in septic tanks. I think it doesn't just cover cold climate, but probably sort of everything that's known that's out there. But hopefully it can help you find some studies.
Yeah, great. Thank you.
What specifically do you need?
I just wanted to see whether there are people who are working on microbial dynamics and looking and what methods they're using. I met the PhD student of Gaetano Doria. And
Is that Kelsey Shaw?
Yeah. I met with her online, and we exchanged like the news, what we're doing, and yes, and except her, it seems that at the moment, I otherwise I haven't met anyone who work on who would be working on dynamics. Maybe there are not. I thought maybe there are not haven't published yet, but they are still in the process of investigating, and you might know. If you happen to meet anyone, just please let me know.
Well, I think it's exciting, and I think it's definitely something obviously we don't know much about. So whatever you find is going to be new and useful information.
I hope so. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you for sharing your work. This is so interesting, and it's a problem in so many places. So it's a really important thing to work on.
Yeah, thank you. I wonder if there are such issues as misunderstanding the whole concept of septic tanks in other places in the world, like or people know exactly what the septic tank, how it should function.
But
But it was
do they mean them to be septic tanks, or do they just want them to be tanks until they get emptied? Like in Greenland, they have tanks under the house. It's not septic tank at all. It's just a containment, and then it gets pumped out a few times in the month or week and dumped out. Is that what it was designed for, maybe?
People here call them septic tanks, and some of them like they try to make them as septic tanks, but they with major errors. Like they have drain fields though.
Okay.
But I think that's a good point that in a lot of these kinds of systems, including septic tanks, the microbial activity in them has sort of been this black box that was never understood and never really characterized. And we're still at that level of understanding where it's a bit of a black box. We assume there's things going on and people have made assumptions about what's going on, but there isn't actually any data out there on what actually is happening microbially in these systems.
Yeah, that's right. Not much information on the septic tanks is available, but there are, and it also there could be differences even if with for example, if someone else does very similar research, you might find something different from me because of the environment and the conditions, different conditions of the septic tanks in other places where they collect data from. And overall, thank you very much for your feedback and for your advice and contacts and the information you provided.
And I don't have a PhD. I don't know how long it will take you to finish it, but please come back and let us know, or pop in and let us know if you have questions, or you can participate in any of our meetings. They're monthly meetings most of the year, not in the summer.
Okay. We could maybe, if you are interested, we you know, is a I see that there could be in the north of Kazakhstan, where we like in temperature-wise or climate-wise, we have similar similarities with Alaska, and also with like we could, if there are such grant opportunities, we can combine and work together sometime in the future with Kazakhstan and Alaska, or any other northern northern states or countries.
Yes, definitely. Nate, did you catch the Everest Base Camp reference? Did that connect with your?
Are you also part of something there?
Nate?
You're muted. You're muted, Nate.
Still muted, Nate. Oh,
Still
now he's off
muted,
again.
and
Oh, it's moving. He's alive.
he is live. But now we cannot even see if you're talking, Nate.
Oh. There he goes.
Hey, sorry, I have too many windows open. I'm at work and I can't see any of you anymore.
Well, we're seeing your chest, so your camera tilted down. There you go.
There you go.
Better. Good.
There we go. How about that?
Beautiful.
I heard Judith mention something about Everest Base Camp. Yeah, I mean, were you mentioning that Dr. Jaime is involved in that?
I've introduced him to them. I don't know if they're going to work together, but they are looking for help on the technical side. They want to clean up, do outreach to people to stop polluting, and develop a bit sustainable base camp model that can be used. And within that base camp model would be wastewater management. And for that, I've just given them a few names. And if you want, I can introduce you
Oh,
to.
yeah. So the reason I'm even
I think you're already
heard of-
involved there somehow, no?
Yeah. I've been working on the Mount Everest biogas project for quite some time, and it's been really stalled. Like we fully developed the design and have all these memorandums of understanding with the Sagarmatha Park and all of the local stakeholders, and we just needed like $200,000 to $300,000 to build some anaerobic digester, and that's where it's been stopped. We basically stopped trying to do fundraising during the pandemic, and in the last like year and a half, I've been working with a very dwindling number of participants who are still working on it, and I think mostly it's myself and the architect Joe Swain are the ones still kind of like hunting for grants and trying to build it in a slow manner. And in a lot of ways, I look at this project and the pilot studies that we're doing as a pathway to maybe adjust our concept. The concept had previously been to have continuous anaerobic digestion. And honestly, I think that's a huge staffing issue for the winter. Because even if you have two people, like if one of them gets sick and the other one is not trying to be up at Gorak Shep at 17,000 feet, then, everything stops working. So I think seasonal functionality would be better, but I'm not trying to redesign this thing that I have like no, anyway, so that's been an ongoing thing that's been plateaued. And you're telling me that people are actually trying to solve the same problem. I would love to get in touch with them.
Yeah, we can. I can do that. So it's the team of this Norwegian lady who has been beating the record of the 14 peaks right after the one that was on Netflix. She's Norwegian, and there was a whole controversy about her team. Anyway, she is the head. So if you look up her name, you'll find the project. And then she has, for now, a communication person who I've been in touch with called Rigmor, but I can also put you in touch with her. If you reach out to her on LinkedIn, Christine.
Yeah, I didn't catch the name at all.
Yeah, because it's a Norwegian name. Let me write it.
Yeah.
So Christine Harila is the climber, and then Rigmor, let me see.
Okay.
Yeah.
Awesome.
This is the communication person, and they are still, last time we talked, they were still looking for funding. So I don't know when it's supposed to start, but
But they're looking at everything like the solid waste management, because I think they burn all the plastic and paper trash right
I
now.
think the idea is to develop a model to be used by everyone who has an expedition up there. So one of the issues is wastewater. Yeah, I don't know how far they're going to come, but obviously you have ideas that you can share with them. Bastian, the guy who's also in touch with them. So Jaime is working on digesters. Bastian is working on vermicompost, compost, septic tanks in mountains in the Alps.
Awesome.
And also turning urine into fertilizer. And then there was someone else who also has the water wall and a few other things for hand washing and recycling water and so on. But I don't know who in the end they have chosen to work with and how far it's come now. It was a few weeks ago. So
okay.
And if you want an introduction, I can do it, but you can just reach out to them also. And
yeah, I will definitely reach out to them. Thank you for putting this on my radar.
Sorry, I didn't offer to you because I thought you were already involved in a project, so I didn't really realize it could be connected. But actually, I might be very happy to know that you've come some way already on yours, and you could join now.
Yeah, I mean, it's I think politically it's pretty interesting up there because they were like, do not mention this to any of the ministries in Kathmandu at the capital. If you do that, you're going to create years of paperwork back and forth. There's a two-year residency for all the political heads. So every 2 years you're starting over. And they're like, they're not in control. Like, we control our community. We run the national park. Like, do not talk to them. And
So you're
actually,
working with a community over there already?
yeah. So we were working with Sagarmatha Pollution Control Committee they're an NGO, but they're they're the ones doing trash cleanup in the park. They get like teenagers to go and walk the trails and stuff. And you'll see them about. And they also are those are also the ones that are currently taking the money collected from the climbers. The park is controlling all the people trekking and climbing, but you have to pay your waste fees, and then that is brought down. So then the porters who are taking the barrels of human waste to be buried in pits slightly lower down, they're getting paid through that program, and their barrels are weighed, and like there's a system that's there, and it's just putting black waste into shallow pits and putting rocks over the top. And they keep having to go further south or further down the mountain because there's no more places you can dig. And this has been a problem for decades. And we've done some different water source monitoring, so we can show the human impacts on water sources near there and this and that. But we have these memorandums of understanding that, we want to build anaerobic digestion to deal with this, but it's and part of that is that we would design and operate and then transfer ownership and operation to the Sagarmatha Pollution Control Committee with the blessing of the national park. And they're kind of just like, you come up here and talk to us in the mountains, and like, don't talk to them down in the capital, because they're just gonna like put you in circles. So I mean, if anything else, maybe that's like a useful thing to say. But it looks like Kristen Harila is looking at a solution that could be used on any of the 7 peaks, right? Like, it could be
14, well, yeah, right now it's at Everest Base Camp. That's where the biggest problem is. And her plan is also to work with the Sherpa community, and then over 5 years, give the reins to them entirely. So training people there, etc. Also, incidentally.
Awesome.
But importantly. And obviously, if you do go there and build a biogas digester at some point, let us know so we can plan our hiking trips around that time.
Yeah. No time. I mean, I would want to do a small demonstration pilot during a climbing season. Is like we still have like $30,000 left, and I'm like, we need to just use that to. I'm waiting for the thing in Fairbanks to work out, so that we can be like, see, we're gonna do this, and then like imitate that up there. But it's been going so slowly for so long that I fully gave up on this project in 2021, and recently I'm slightly hopeful. So I'll go talk to these folks and see if they bring any new energy to this, because they probably aren't aware of it. Hey, thank you so much.
Yeah, welcome. Let me know if I can help. It's a cool project.
Yeah, it's a great concept.
But actually, talking about septic tanks, the name of our group is Digesters, right? At the end, should we rethink that, or do we really want to focus specifically on digesters here? And
I think the acronym is horrible. Chad is like that already exists as a thing in the internet, and I just
propose a new one. That's fine. We can change.
We do love our logo that Margaret came up with years ago, but that can be looked at as well.
Yep.
This is a accept all feedback group and make all connections possible group. So, any ideas, Nate, off the top of your creative head, or anybody else?
Yeah, something sanitation. Just getting sanitation in there is maybe
sanitation in the north and wait. Snow.
Sanitation and cold
in the north and winter, so then it makes snow.
Oh,
something like that. North altitude, yeah.
Yeah.
Snowing
I
even.
like the clever ideas. And maybe one way is to get everybody in this whole group noticing that maybe we would like to change the name, and do they have any suggestions? And that we think sanitation is good to have in the name. Cold climates make sense. I like that clever idea of snow, but yeah, it's going to be in Antarctica and other really cold places as well.
Yeah.
I'm
Also,
super interested in the anaerobic digestion aspect of it. That doesn't mean I won't be here. I'll still be here, because maybe that's one of the solutions, but I get it. It is about sanitation. And every time, the more I sit in this group, the more I hear about the kind of struggle to do something worthwhile that Nate just is, been experiencing over the years, decades, whatever. And, the kinds of things that we saw in the person that presented about Greenland. If that's where it was, I don't remember. Anyhow, so I love that we're doing that. We should really think about this as sanitation, and I think there's got to be some great names out there.
yeah, I don't want to derail the topic.
No,
But
but that could be our homework.
Since it's related and there's a little bit of
Yes.
other things. But
Yeah.
also, just a fair warning, I have suggested the snow thing in the Eurarctic thematic network group. So let's just wait.
They have
I don't-
first dibs.
I don't think we will take it because it was kind of a funny try, but just in case.
Just in case. Thank you. Thanks to all your comments and suggestions this morning. Others, creativity or questions about sanitations or connections around this topic that you're discussing right now? Go back up. We have the agenda dropped in our chat. So you, when I got on, you were updating the NATO work, had a research presentation. Are we ready to switch topics and talk about the NREL Fairbanks project? Which I think, Margaret, puts you on the spot, unless there's somebody else on the phone that I'm not seeing.
Yeah, I saw Annie join. She might have snuck out, but
Okay.
I'm still here.
Hey,
Hey, Annie, you take the helm.
Yeah, I love checking in. However, like things here have been frozen, so nothing has changed in terms of that status. We are still in the winter hibernation of this. We kind of got things all prepped and queued up by the end of the fall in terms of the system setup. The power system was the last thing that had taken some time to get into place. But now it's just cold and waiting. And Margaret and I have been keeping in touch about kind of brainstorming expanded opportunities. And when we do relaunch, if we have a full-time intern, what other additional research questions might we have support to answer? So thinking in a more planning approach, but nothing in terms of updates on the ground.
And you'll remain frozen until April?
That's what we, I mean, we had some really high temperatures this past week. We were up above freezing for a while, and yeah, it was warmer up here than it was in the lower 48 for a number of days. But in general, yeah, probably April. Well, April is when Margaret and I have discussed like a kind of structured plan for monitoring. March is probably when we will figure out exactly what that looks like, given a more accurate sense of what the rest of the season holds between now and then. We'll probably have a stronger sense of when that thaw process will be by March, and then we'll have a really structured approach to monitoring in April.
Anybody have any questions? Or do you have any asks for the group? No?
I just want to throw it out there, Anne, that I'm going to be visiting my brother in Fairbanks again in the beginning of March. So it'd be cool to stop by and see you all, or like have lunch or something at minimum. But yeah, just throwing that out there.
Totally good to know, Nate.
Yeah.
You guys have each other's contact info or put it in the chat, emails or something? Yeah.
I even have the front desk lady's name somewhere in my notes.
You can get through security.
Yeah.
All right, bring a hammer or a cold winter jacket or something.
I did want to
Buy your
mention
lunch on us. We'll reimburse you some.
on that Alaska project that has anyone noticed this Swiss group that's weatherizing the bag digesters? No. Okay, it's on LinkedIn. It's this guy Hans Joachim Nägele. And they're out of like one of these technical Hochschule or something. I don't know, whatever it is in Switzerland. They're using the bag digesters from B Energy, which is that anti-charity woman who makes bag digesters. Sorry, her name slips my name. She's German. So I will just send, I mean, they're doing all this stuff, right? Data and all this stuff. And they just sort of finished they just posted recently. I'll put it in the chat if I can darn well find it. Yeah. So the cool thing about that is that in my mind, like it's great to have the actual projects and start to model what's going on in these cold climates. I don't know how cold it is, but apparently it's working pretty well. So that's good. It's nice to learn from failures, but successes are all right too. Data is great.
That's awesome.
Okay. Okay. Anything else for Annie? Nope. Thank you. You're off the hook. Keep warm.
Thank you.
Arctic snap is coming in. I don't know if that Siberian air is missing Alaska, but it's doesn't seem to be missing the rest of the US. All right. Ready for any new projects? Anything else that's not been talked about?
I guess that was my new project.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
yeah, I'll put that in the chat. Or should I email it? Maybe I should email it to the whole thing here.
Yeah.
If I respond to IRPC collaborations, our meeting notice here, does that work? No.
I don't think so.
No, that goes back to the website. Sorry. What's a good way for everybody in this group to see it?
There is a calendar invite with people, a lot of the contact information for people who've joined. So you might copy the people on that calendar invite.
Reply all to that one. Okay.
There you go. Good idea.
Okay. Thank you. I feel incredibly clever.
Powerful. We've unleashed a whole new energy.
Yeah, that's a good one. Okay. Yeah, that gets like 30 people. That's cool. All right. Thank you.
Great. Thank you, everybody.
When you mentioned the name of the girl who was doing the bee digesters, who's also, her name is escaping me, but it made me think of Kathy Puffer, and I don't know if I've mentioned her before, but she does small scale biogas systems training. And she runs the occasional, I'm just looking her up on LinkedIn because I know she runs an occasional course where she gets a bunch of people together. And the nice thing about that is everybody kind of talks about, you know, interesting bits of engineering. Like she was working with a lot of people in Haiti, where of course now they can't get out, they can't get in, they can't get stuff in. So they're having to be really creative on their engineering. And I had a student in Uganda who she was helping because he was struggling to build something, and you know it meant he had a community of people who were operating digesters and things. So I just thought I'd kind of bring her to the group. I'm trying to see if she's got anything here that you could see her on LinkedIn anyway, and she normally advertises her courses and where people can't afford to do the courses. So the way what she does is she uses people who can afford to do the courses to subsidize for people who can't afford to do the courses, which is nice. Operational things and design things and all that kind of stuff.
Okay. Anybody want to follow up? Don't want to end early if we have more things to talk about. Is there other news? Oh, actually, a new message. Okay, thanks, Joy.
Can I ask a question? Because I think I missed something maybe in one of the earlier meetings where they on the actual digester, people were going to put everything in the lid for when it froze. Is the digester sat out in the snow, filled up and frozen at the moment? You know, is somebody doing this is sat in the middle of nowhere freezing test for it?
Sorry, Angie, I think that was directed at me. The question is one of them, there is a digester here that's frozen solid.
Okay. Okay, yeah, I wondered because I thought, yeah, because it'll give you a very good indication as to whether they actually survive on the freeze and the defrost, which is always the problem, isn't it?
It doesn't have anything but water though, because we didn't have time to get it going.
I think that's fair enough. You know, the part of the design brief was having all the bits in the top so that, you know, there was no things in the side because you were worried about things freezing. So if it all still remains gas tight, once it's all, you know, defrosted or at least reasonably startable in this case, I think it'd be fine. It was just one of those sort of things that I was thinking about. Yeah, it's frozen. So what is going on there? So I'm glad it's being kind of tested minus whatever it is.
Yeah, Angie, thanks for that. And Margaret, great clarification. Thanks. We decided to do one, and the water was in part because we hadn't gotten the digester started before temperatures dropped. And then also if we were going to break it and have everything leak because we didn't know how the system will hold up, then we figured do it with a bit of a safer, less safe, health and safety regulated substance. So we just did it for one of the 4 digesters, and that's the thawing process we'll be watching, is just the water in that tank with all of the it's got all of its fittings and temperature sensors, etc.
Brilliant. Well, fingers crossed.
Yeah,
Yep.
Thanks.
And that'll be cool because it'll show you if it damages any of like where you like siliconed or, you know, any of the cracks. Methane's so good at escaping. So we could do a smoke test later. Once you could like let it thaw and then pump it out and then like light some incense in there or something and do a smoke test. No, I'm serious. Smoke tests are
Yeah,
great.
no, I think it's a great idea. I went to banana oil, but incense works too. All of you needing health and safety every year. Respirators. All right, just giving people time to gather your thoughts, look at notes, daydream your next amazing project or question. Go ahead, Nate.
I should probably take off early. I'm working with people in EPA Region 7 for these little planning studies for these really small villages in Nebraska. You know anybody in Region 7?
I work with contracting officers, but no project managers for Superfund. How about you, Margaret?
I work with a really wonderful woman who does sort of she's been there a long time, so she's been in different programs, and I'm not actually sure what program she's in right now. Mm-hmm. But I know her from mostly trying to keep plastic out of the water, including agricultural plastic, and then you know, trash that people just litter. And I'm happy to hook you up. She's definitely sort of a, you know, like the rest of us in this group, I think, someone who had a lot of curiosity and energy for just trying to solve problems.
That'd be cool. I'd love to, name drop. It's not that big of a scene out there. So, okay. But yeah, I should take off. And thank you again, Judith, for letting me know. I'll reach out to these Norwegian folks. And
Great. Crossing fingers.
yeah, all right. Thanks everybody. Bye.
Fantastic.
And
Thanks, Nate.
and thank you so much, Ayman, for presenting your paper. That's really interesting. Thanks for your work on that. Okay.
Thanks a lot. Thanks.
Thank you.
Bye.
Margaret, how are you feeling? Are we ready to wrap up?
I think we're ready to wrap up. Yeah.
Okay, a little bit of time for you guys to get
Yeah.
back to your good work. Chasing, buying, curating bugs.
So today,
All right,
Happy New
everybody.
Year.
Great to see you. We'll see you again in February.
Thanks, everybody.
Bye-bye.
you,
Thanks for
Bye.
dialing in today.